What we'll do, John's got 3 deals rolling. So first and foremost, because we did that workshop at the event, which was like it was the first time we've ever done it. And what we did it was at VIP day. So those of you that didn't stick around for VIP day or didn't come to the event, what we did was John was in the process of working a deal, actually 2 of them, but we only had a chance to go through one. With the seller that I think we do first here, just so everyone can get the foregone conclusion about what exactly happened, how it all came together. We then broke everybody up into teams. Well, first, what we did is we as an audience, we asked John questions basically as like a property information lead sheet so we could gather all the information. And then once we did that, we then took that information, broke people up into teams, and then each team then had to create at least one offer for the seller. And then they had to present that to John and his wife, Steve Murnick, at the event, present them. So what we ended up doing is we presented an AO offer, a subject to offer, and a lease purchase offer on this deal. And you'll see why once John tells the background again about this here in a minute, for those of you that weren't at the event. And then they then selected a specific offer from that. So really cool dynamic of getting people to practice the ability to make offers on these deals and utilize in a group setting the ability to ask the right questions. We focused really heavy at that last event and got a ton of great feedback from people for working scripts so that way you can go ahead and use the script. We actually had a whole bunch of people make phone calls. We had John working. We had not only John, we have other people working on deals. John just happened to close 2 deals or get them under contract as a taken right at the event, right when we were talking about it. So that's kind of where this whole thing comes together. So John, walk us through the current deal. I think it's 20 Elmwood. The current deal that you're working on. Tell us about the seller. I'm going to pull up my my iPad and then we'll walk through this deal.
Yeah, so I called the guy from an expired list, and he had been trying to sell it and wasn't able to. So then he was trying to rent it, and he still wasn't able to rent it. He was not moving, but going to Israel like within a week from when I first talked with him for I think 3 or 4 months. So we chatted briefly. I got his his motivation primarily at first. What he said was just he wanted to get some equity out of the house, but it turns out after discovering a little bit more and Steve talking to him, he's moving to Texas when he comes back. So he really doesn't. He'd prefer to not have multiple mortgage payments. And so what else, Zach?
All right. So this particular seller, just because I understand the background based upon the deal, this seller was traveling, went off to Israel. This property is right outside of Boston. It's actually in your town.
In my town.
This house. So this house is there. He's going to Israel. Then when he gets back from Israel, he's moving to Texas. What wasn't mentioned was he tried to sell it. So this was an expired listing, correct?
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
So he tried to actually sell this property, couldn't get his price, right?
Correct.
Okay. And was there a reason why, I guess, was price the only reason why it wasn't able to sell?
I mean, it's a nice property. So he was convinced it was interest rates actually.
So like buyers weren't able to qualify for loans right now, which means that they couldn't pay the purchase price on his house that he wanted. So he's blaming interest rates.
Right. And I think it was probably listed a little high.
Got it. Okay. So you got an expired listing and a relocation, but then also the seller, because he went to Israel, didn't he do something with the property? What did he do? Like a short-term rental or something? There's something going on where he's renting too,
yeah.
right?
So at first he told me that when I first talked to him, he said that he had it listed, he had it rented fully furnished for, I don't remember the exact amount, 4,500 or something to that effect. But then so then he left for Israel and he helped me set up a time to go see it with his mother-in-law, and it's empty. I mean, his stuff was all packed. There was like a dining room table was left. So it was not actually it was not actually rented. So if I can read between the lines, I think in the initial call, he was just not trying to appear desperate.
Yeah. Sounds like was he a business guy?
Yeah, he's a businessman.
Awesome. All right. So this guy, unique scenario, relocating and can't sell it, expired listing. So now John reaches out to him. How many times did you, just to kind of get this like pathway, like when was the first time you spoke with him to till you getting under agreement?
Oh, this was super fast. Like a month.
Like 30 days?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm curious, John, when we start to move into your other deals, how long did it take from you to get your first deal? And then how long did it take you to get your second deal and then your third? I'm just curious on that timeline.
Uh, they were all three were within 2 weeks. And it was all the longest follow-up was probably a month and a half, which again, I just said I've been around for over a year. So I already know, I know that's super weird. I'm talking to people that I'm following up with people that I talked to last August and still not closing on anything. They just basically, I keep moving them along.
Well, here's the key thing for the business, right? So it takes you 12 months to get to your first deal, and then once you get your first deal, you get 2 other deals within 2 weeks.
Right, right.
So
So I told my wife my average is
what
down to one every 4 months. When I start getting more, my average is going to continue to drop.
So what's the difference? And then we'll dive into this deal. What has been the difference? Because I think this is important. We got some new faces on here. We also have some jump starts as well. What was like? It seemed like stuff clicked. What happened?
I think my confidence got better. I think my scripting got better. I've been practicing the scripts, and I really got into more and more practicing. I was making sure I was sending regular calls to my coaches so that they could critique the call. I take action on it, send them a new the action, critique, adjust, action.
Was there anything that clicked when you came for your office visit? Because that was
Yeah, actually,
the office visit.
yeah, so actually, thank you for leading me. Zach helped me look at my metrics, so it's key to obviously track everything you're doing, which I did. So Zach helped me track my metrics, and my live to lead, my live to lead was low. So Zach basically gave me the like, make sure you're sending calls to your coaches regularly, but also my dials to live was low. So Zach gave me tips on adjust getting that boosted too.
Yeah. So what happened
And
was,
then within a couple months, we got a few deals.
yeah, I just wanted to give some clarity in case this is the first time someone's been on the Wicked Smart sit down with us or going through a deal. When we say live to lead, it means how many people that you get live on the phone when you're reaching out to them, to converting them to a property information lead sheet or a lead that then goes into your funnel. The lead to us is anybody that you're going to be following up with or working towards purchasing the property. So we move them into our funnel, right? And then the other one was, actually making the dials to getting live. So we made some critiques there, or some critiques there, that way you could get more people on the phone live. And then we worked on your scripts with your coach, which was critiquing your calls. And that would improve your scripts. And then it sounds like it improved your confidence. And then once you get one deal, well, you tell me. So now that you had your first deal, was it completely different speaking on the phone once you had your first property under agreement?
Yeah, for sure my confidence is boosted in that. I was slipping into this mindset of like, yes, I know people are doing it in my area and I know it's working for them, but it doesn't work for me. And so it was really hard to fight against that. And then, but I would daily try to fight against it. And obviously once I got the first one, I thought, oh, okay, this is proof of concept. This actually really does work for me. And I actually noticed at the end of the first dialing session after I got the first one, I noticed, oh wow, that felt a lot easier for some reason.
Got it. And then we'll jump in this deal in a second, but 2 out of your 3 deals are in a high-end area, like right outside of Boston. So
Right.
so completely different markets, right? You got 2 in high-end area, and then you got 1 more in like northern Massachusetts, more rural. And we'll dive into what those deals actually look like. But I wanted to bring that up because there's multiple markets just where John is, and it's working in all those markets.
Right.
All right,
And
John.
I think it's key also, like, whether the house is 100,000 or a million plus, it's just a number. And in fact, most of the people that their house is just over a million, they probably did not pay $1 million for it. And they're either desperate, they either want to get rid of it or they don't. And so that I also had to like rework that in my brain too, that 100,000, million, 2 million, they're really just numbers.
Yeah, and we've actually seen that people with higher end houses are more they tend to be more financially literate. So having these conversations make a little bit more sense. Plus, people tend to have more than one asset. So they're not counting on just the equity in their property if they have a higher end home. Again, that's more of what we've experienced, not a full truth, meaning that's not always the case, but that's what we've experienced. All right. So let's walk through this deal. So it was an expired listing. What did we end up doing as far as the type of deal?
This is an assign out.
Okay. Now, did you make multiple offers on this deal or just do an AO?
No, first we talked about, so again, this is where the coaching is just amazing. So Steve Murnick was my coach for this one, and he really helped us talk about lease purchase and feel the guy out over the course of a couple conversations before he finally switched AO, because the guy wanted money down.
Got it. Okay. So you had, and I'm just walking through the deal structure, right? Walking through the brain process here. And that is, so you originally tried to structure a lease purchase or a
Right.
subject. We were trying to stay in the deal, but
Right.
based upon that the seller was consistent about getting money down, that's why you shifted to an AO.
Right. So basically, Steve, and the question that Steve asked was, what are you going to use the money for? He wanted 200,000. And at first he said, well, I need to pay off my HELOC. He listed a few things.
Yep.
But paying off his HELOC was one of them. And Steve said, well, we're going to take that over, so you don't need to worry about that. What else do you need the money for? And he listed the other few things. And so the guy basically reduced his number, and Steve said, do you need that right away? Is that a want or a need? And he asked that a couple different ways, and it turns out the guy at least is convinced in his brain that he needs to have it. So that's when Steve shifted to the AO.
Got it. Okay. So this particular property, and I'm just walking through the stages here. This particular property has a mortgage on it, right? And it has a HELOC.
Correct.
So my guess is that the monthly payment's going to be rather high if you're taking on both the HELOC and the mortgage as well. So you may be better off in general because you might not have much of a spread in this deal.
Right. Right.
What did we end up? So we'll just do purchase price. What did we end up agreeing to for purchase price?
1.2 is what we're taking it to the market for.
Okay, 1.2.
Yep.
Okay. And then after we walk through this, we'll open it up for questions. So 1.2. So if you're looking at your AO agreement, which you can get in the QLS home study course, if you guys don't have access to it, go to Pete's on here to go to smartrealestatecoach.com/bundle. Use the promo code QLS 2023. Go in there. It's like a page and a half document that basically says we're going to agree to this price. We're going to agree to this monthly payment, and we're going to then take it to market. And the sign out deal is simply then we're just going to take it to market now that we have it under agreement. Once we have found, vetted, and now have a buyer's package, we're then going to present it to you, Mr. Seller, which was going to include the down payment. It's going to include their background check. It's going to include their finances. We're going to have a structured plan in place. Once they accept it, then we simply assign the buyer to the seller. And then we get what we call releases from both the seller and the buyer, which then allows us to walk away. And now the seller and buyer are working together. So the simple script for an AO is, all right, Mr. Seller, are you open to getting us helping you get your price? Part of a non-refundable deposit. Having a buyer in the house, you get cash flow, you get principal pay down. You're going to make significantly more as long as you don't need all of your equity today. And it's really hard for sellers to say no, that they're not open to that if they, the only time it has to be is unless they need all their equity today, because they're going to net significantly more. So then, John, on the agreement, what are we doing for a bare minimum that you're going to get him?
Oh, that's the 1.2.
Okay, so then what are we taking it to market for?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 1.3.
Okay, so we're going to increase it by 100,000. We're going to aim on the agreement. It also states that we're going to aim to try to get him a 24-month agreement or less. So the expectation from the buyer as far as a down payment now is what?
200,000.
200,000 plus, I would say.
Right.
Would be more clear. 200K. What did we tell him that we were going to get him for a monthly payment? It's irrelevant to John, but just so people are clear.
4,500 is what he wants. And so that's once we add the taxes back, that would be a little high. And so what Nick was saying is basically we'll take it to market for, I think, slightly below that. And then after 30 days, if it doesn't sell, we'll go back to him and renegotiate.
Got it. Okay. So the idea is that so we're going to get him covered because he's pouring money out of his pocket right now anyways. He's paying a mortgage. He's paying a HELOC. If you can get him to break even. And then it sounds like, what's the split on it?
50-50. So we'll get half of that.
Okay. So then very likely the potential is 100K to John and 100K to the seller. Now the seller is already now they're going to get $100,000 in their pocket. I don't think that there's any way that this guy gets over $1 million in any other market based upon what you guys were telling us, meaning in any other real estate niche. So he is going to net at least $100,000 to $300,000 more than if he would have sold traditionally on the open market.
Absolutely.
And John gets 100K for your first deal or second deal.
Not too bad.
Yeah. So the question would be, right, to any of you sitting there that aren't either participating in our coaching or in creative financing, and it's, are you willing to put in the time and effort for 12 months in order to get 3 properties on the agreement? And we'll walk through the other ones as well, potentials. But my guess is it's going to be anywhere from 200 to 350K in total profits. Are you willing to put in the work and then be able to build on that portfolio and that skill set? And you'll have that for the rest of your life. My guess is the answer would be yes, but John, you stuck with it.
I did, and it was 100% worth it.
Let's open it up for questions. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, or just open up your mic and we can answer them. Because we'll probably only be able to get through one other deal with John. What do we got? Well, Raymond wants to know, what is your W-2 escape plan, John?
TBD.
To be
6 to 12 months. And another awesome thing about smart real estate coaches, Zach and his team will help me work on that.
You're starting to see the light, Raymond.
I actually do see the light clearly.
Yep. Love it. Very good. Any other questions specifically about this deal for our friend John? We got a quiet crowd tonight. Go ahead, Adam. I can't.
John, what?
I can't see your hand. So Open up.
What did you decide to pay the seller above and beyond his purchase? I mean, he was asking 1.2. Are you going to give him any more other than that 50-50 split, or is he happy with that?
He's happy with the 50-50 split.
Okay. Was there any negotiating, or is that where you started?
That's where we started. I mean, he wanted 100 to 150 after he dropped down initially. So once he saw that we could get that, he was very happy.
All right. Steve.
Hey, Zach.
Hello.
This is an AL, right? Yeah, just out of curiosity, what's the seller getting monthly on this?
He's looking for 4,500, that's probably in line with rents. But again, once you add the taxes to it, it's pretty high. And his total mortgage payment is about 3,400.
So what do you guys think you're going to get for him for a spread? I think is what he's asking.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're going for the $1,000 for him.
So you're
Okay,
hoping for 5,500, so $1,000 in cash flow.
got it. Okay, so he's going to get that a month as well.
No, sorry, his monthly payment should be 4,500, Zach, and then payment.
Yeah.
Sorry, monthly payment should be his mortgage payment, right?
Yeah, mortgage and HELOC, right? If he's got
Yeah,
two.
so sorry, I said it wrong. Monthly payment would be 3,400.
Okay.
Payment from buyer would be 4,500. Sorry about that.
You should be sorry.
So he's making 1,100 a month. Okay.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, dude, how greedy are you?
That's not terrible.
Exactly. And he's got his interest rate is low, so he's on the primary loan. He's got high mortgage pay down too. It's
Was it like 26 grand
$1,000 a
altogether?
month or something.
25,000 ish.
How much comes off his
Yeah.
principal each month? Does it matter? I mean, it doesn't matter to us, but I'm just curious how this works.
Yeah, it's about 1,000, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, principal pay down roughly 1,000 a month. Yeah, this is good. I'm glad you asked the question, because if you're out there talking to a seller right now, look at the difference that this seller is going to make. I think we looked it up. Didn't the seller expire at like, I don't know, 1 million or 1,000,001? So he's already getting 100,000, right?
Yeah, he expired at like 950, I think.
Okay. There may be some renegotiation. Let's see how the market responds. So you got, like, hypothetically, if this thing happens at this, or even you can subtract $100,000 if we got to bump it down. But he's already making, say, 150K just off the price premium, right? Because if he expired for 950 and you're buying it for even if you negotiate down to 1.1, that's 150,000. In this circumstance, using these numbers, it's 250,000 for the seller. Plus, he doesn't have to pay realtor commission, so now you add another 50 grand to it, right? So now he's already has $300,000 more right now. Plus, he's getting 25 grand in cash flow ish. Above that, $24,000 of principal pay down. So this guy's almost, if this deal happens at this point, it's going to be like almost a $400,000 more net profit to the seller. Plus, he's getting $100,000 off the table. So it's a huge win for the seller. That's why these conversations are absolute no-brainers. That's why assign out deals can be very lucrative, certainly in the higher ends, but can be very it can be a really great confidence builder. There's a reason why Chris's first 12 out of 13 deals were AOs. They build confidence. They get money in your pocket. And if you're working in the higher end space, like John is with this deal, it's $100,000. It was like Russell. Russell did his first deal down Southern California, 65K as a non-refundable deposit he was able to collect. So it's just these can make huge dents. Are they the long-term strategy? No, but they're a great way for you to get off the ground in creative financing.
Right.
Raymond, go ahead and then we'll jump to Heidi.
Hey, Zach. Hey, John. Good luck on this deal. Hey, just a quick question, right? About the target buyers. What is the marketing channel that you're going to get somebody for this price?
Are you asking like who would be the buyer?
Yeah, like some guy who's gonna do Airbnb with it, or somebody that's looking to live in it.
Yeah, we don't, Raymond, good question, but we don't sell properties to people that are gonna be subleasing it. It's actually in the agreement, they're not able to sublease it. So
Oh,
these are gonna be, this is right outside of Boston. Great town. I mean, and $1 million homes are very normal. Like you can't get anything. Like the price range for this house is very normal. Might be slightly high based on today's current market, but
right.
the normal price range would be, your young entrepreneurs or your business people that work out of Boston, right?
Startups. Okay.
Would you say that'd be the case, John?
I mean, this is in my town, and it's I would call it a blue collar town, actually. So
Yeah.
this is
Blue collar. $1 million.
I mean, it's slowly shifting, but yeah, this is right. This is pretty close to in line with most houses here.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you so much, John and Zach.
Yeah, of course. Very good. Heidi.
Hey, Zach and John, congratulations. Sorry, I'm off camera. I'm a hot mess today, running around. Anyways, quick
Thank you.
question. I missed the beginning, and I'm not sure if it was already brought up, but with the mortgage and the HELOC, was there any equity already in that property? So when I'm just thinking, when you talk to a seller, so of course they have this, if there's equity in mind, but what you just showed with the principal pay down, you can add us. Talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
John, what was the equity amount in the house?
it was 300 to 400,000 if you base it on the 950, and then obviously add whatever over that.
Okay, so he's a happy camper then. I would assume.
Yeah, he's very happy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's why I also think that there's flexibility in this, where I mean, you could probably get this thing down to $1 million or even more than 1.1. My guess would even be $1 million and then sell it to a tenant buyer for 1.15 or 1.2 if it sits on the market too long.
Right,
Okay.
because he's still making a ton of money off of it.
Still making a ton of money. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I
For-
missed QLS. I'm bummed I couldn't make it. Anyways,
We're bummed you couldn't make it too.
yeah, just waiting for the day, huh? Okay,
Start working for the summit. We'll start moving towards the summit now. Mark.
amen. Thanks.
Awesome.
Zach, for Roy's question in the chat, it'd be 1.2, right? Because he and I are splitting the 200. So
Yep.
if it sells for 1.3, he's getting 1.2.
Yeah, he's getting 1.2, but the sale price on the property is going to be 1.3, and the
Right.
buyer, and then when this goes to close out, it's going to show that he's put down 200K if you don't get more money down, which you probably would, because there's also there's a technique here, right? So if John is able to go back and even renegotiate the price that he owes the seller, the 1.2, and gets it down even to 1.15 or even 1.1, and John is still able to access it's still able to get it at 1.3, like be able to sell it. There's a way in which you can actually get paid multiple times on an AO. Although if you go through, I think it's mod 6, I don't remember exactly, mod 6 and QLS, where we walk you through AOs. AOs are typically just one payday and move on. But we have been able to get sellers or get more paydays off the payday one. For example, like if you had this timeline where at the time of closing, right? At the time of closing, we were getting this 100K down. And then let's say over the course of the lease, we were then going to be restructured with the buyer, more money, say another 100K, 50 and 50. John is able to access up to what he agreed that he would pay the seller as the bare minimum, right? So in this circumstance, he is agreeing to the seller, you're at least going to get 1.2, right? But let's just, for deal structure and circumstances here, so you guys know, if he was able to sell it for higher or able to renegotiate it down, technically John at this circumstance he can net up to 100K. But if he can negotiate it either with the buyer or the seller, whatever the increased negotiation would be, he would be able to access those funds. So what we have done would be, let's say you collect 100K here. If there was still another 100K available, John could also collect that as well because he agreed to pay the seller 1.2. Really, really cool way to increase cash flow because what you simply do to the buyer is you say you make a deposit for your monthly payments here and you make the deposits for the non-refundable deposits in this account, and then John would collect it until he's reached his cap. Then he would simply redirect the buyer to start dispersing the money to the seller. Does that make sense?
I don't hate that.
No, I was like, you can go back and try to renegotiate this as well. Or in the future, right? If you can get it down, there's a misconception in creative financing that says, I have to pay them full retail price. Or like, why would a seller do it if they weren't getting like their full retail price? And this is all about solving people's problems. So there's plenty of deals where we can get it below market and still sell it above at a premium above market, which means that we create a lot of equity in these deals. Whether it's an assign out deal, a sub two, owner financing, lease purchase, you name it. There's plenty of deals we can get below market because we solve the seller's problem. We can sell it for significantly higher, which then allows us to increase our equity in these deals. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on the deposit the buyer put down because they put down 200,000, which is
Yep.
higher than the price premium, right? Price premium
Yep.
is only 100,000.
Yep.
So is somebody going to have to bring money to the closing to make this work?
All right, so let's walk through this. So let's say let's say the buyer only puts down 200K because that's still not 20%. You're in a jumbo loan situation. So John will be having that conversation to say, hey, you're going to very likely have to come to the table with money unless we structure where you put down more non-refundable deposit before you get to the closing table. But with that being said, John, because he has increased the price on the property by 100,000, that's how much money he can make in this deal, up to that amount. Because the seller is going to net 1.2. That's what he agreed that the seller was going to get on the property. So nobody should have to bring any money to the table because when the closing happens, it's going to show up on the documents to say like, here's what was credited towards the purchase price because it was collected at the beginning.
Oh, okay. So the seller is owed 1.1 at the closing.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
He's getting 1.2 because he's already taken 100 grand off the table.
Okay. And none of the payments from the cash flow during those 24 months, none of those come off the principal in this case, do they?
Not in this case, no.
Okay.
Yep, that's why the seller is getting 100%, or that's why the seller is getting access to the $1,000 principal only payment, and it's not being credited off the purchase price.
Okay. So the buyer's got to go get a $1.1 million loan when this is done, or somehow come up with that.
Yeah, that's why my guess is that the jumbo loan, John, do you know how much it is in, is it Bristol County?
Middlesex, I think it's 750.
Yeah, so the buyer's going to have a couple of decisions to make. One is they're going to go get a jumbo loan, and they're going to put less money down, but they're going to have a high interest rate. And my guess is, I don't know what the jumbo loan interest rates are right now, but if they're like 7 right now for traditional loans, conventional loans, then you know that they're much higher for jumbo. So this buyer's payment is going to increase. We know that. The other choice is, okay, Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Buyer, what we can also structure is over time and get you to a point where you are you only got to go get 750K to keep you below the jumbo rate. So there'll be a lot of conversation between John, the third party vetting company, Paul and Joanne Ritter, and any other third party that we bring in, just so everybody understands like what it's going to take in order to get to the finish line.
Got it. Okay. But that's really the buyer's, I don't mean to be rude, but that's kind of the buyer's problem.
That's 100% the buyer's challenge. Also with an AO deal, John is completely out of this. He's just advising at the beginning, because he knows how it works, right? But at the end of the day, the buyer and the seller are going to be working together on this, not us.
Okay.
We'll be completely out of the deal. We get those releases signed as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation, Zach. Thanks.
Yeah. Pros and cons. What other questions do we have for John? It looks like we're only gonna get through one deal today, John. Doesn't show on the HUD as a down payment. So the non-refundable deposit will be credited towards the purchase price. Whoever the mortgage lender is going to make the decision on how this is going to show up on the HUD. We've had circumstances where the mortgage lender, it's easier for them to get them a loan if they lower the price to 1.1, and that's the purchase price, and they show the non-refundable deposit a different way. And there's also circumstances where it's going to completely show up as a credit towards the purchase price as well. So it just honestly depends how the mortgage lender wants to handle it. Because it could show up as buyer credits, a whole bunch of different stuff, a whole bunch of different ways. Awesome. Any other questions? Or Steve, you still got your hand up, or do we answer those for you?
All good. I just never took my hand down.
All right, fair enough. Didn't want your hand to get tired.
Thank you.
So John, where'd you find expired listing? So walk us through that process. Were you just making dials and it was an expired listing? You got a hold of the guy? Because I know lead gen is certainly a question that most people have.
Yeah, so I basically followed the 7 steps to a taken, and I used my plus leads to pull expired, canceled, withdrawn, and FSBO separately, but this isn't expired. And then I just start calling through the list.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. I'm curious, John, what is your conversion rate right now? Like how many leads to this taken right now?
To this, I have to look at it because this was all this month, so I haven't looked at it to this month.
Got it. Because I know what we always try to get people to do is 15 leads and 1 appointment per month, per week. 15 leads, 1 appointment. That should get you about a deal a month. Now, it's going to vary about your skill set, right? Because John's what we measure too, just kind of give you a back. So we have a lagging 6 months numbers, which means that it's just a look back of every 6 months, and every time a new month goes, you take off the back end month and you add the month in from the last month. So you have a lagging 6 months, which gives you the measurement of how good your skill sets are like now. All right, and as you get a team, you start to look at that as well. But then you also have a 12-month look back too. So that John's new lagging 6 month or 6 month look back is gonna your conversion rates are gonna significantly increase right now, which is cool to see. Sean Tang wants to know what's your budget that you're spending on marketing right now in order to get these deals?
I mean, I'm probably spending more than you have to, because I'm paying a VA and I'm paying for a CRM, but really all you need, I mean, these guys talk about it all the time. You just need to get a way to get the leads. So again, my plus leads, I think it's like 125 a month, and then a phone number. So however much.
Tell them what you're spending. I mean, let's just. What are you spending?
I'm spending, I was just telling someone this. I don't think in months, I think in years.
Okay.
I'm spending, someone else can add it. I'm spending about $800 a month for my VA, $200 a month for the CRM, $250 if you include the phone. and 125 for my plus leads.
Okay, so like $1,200 a month.
Yeah, not bad.
Now, and that, and I love how you're like, and this is high. Like you don't necessarily need to spend this amount of money, but if you compare it to any other real estate niche out there, $1,200 a month is cheap, extremely inexpensive to run any business for like 12 to 15,000 a year. That's insane for most businesses. So the fact that you're able to do that, and we didn't get to your other deals. So you have a potential $100,000 deal here. What are your projected paydays on those other deals? And maybe we bring you back here on a sit down either, these upcoming weeks.
So there's a sub 2, that's 135. And then there's another AO, and that's 117.
So 15 to, let's even say top end, 17 grand a year for 3 deals that are going to create
$350,000, right?
Yeah, 350K. I mean, there's no other business model that allows you to do something like that.
Right. And like I said, the Zach and all the coaches will say I'm probably spending on the higher end in terms of the marketing. Or
Yeah, it's usually
whatever.
500 to $1,000, 500 for brand new. Remember, there's always a balance. And then we'll let you guys get going. There's always a balance. If you have time, then you utilize your time to make calls, right? But if you don't have time and you have money, then you hire people to go do those exact things. Those are the starting points. And then over time, the idea is that you get to a point where you have plenty of money and you build out a team as you're doing real estate deals. And now you hire people and you elevate and delegate. And then you get to a point where you're the one that's controlling the portfolio and structuring the deals versus bringing in the leads and converting them. And that's the pathway and the ramp up. And that's what we help you guys do.
Right. And so for me, I just chose that it's helpful, it's useful for my personal goals to have a VA dialing when I can't, because I've got 4 kids and a full-time job.
Yep. Well, it's a prime example though, John. You are the prime example of somebody that could easily say, I don't have any time to build a business, and you're out there doing it.
Yeah, I'm making, I mean, compared to Adam, no dials, but I'm making about 150 new dials a week and then about 20 to 30 follow-ups.
Love it. And that's what's ramping up and converting right now to get you these deals. And it sounds like you have some additional deals in the pipeline right now.
Hopefully.
All right, fair enough.
Brian challenged me to get at least 2 more this month. So that's what
I love it.
You aim at nothing, you hit it every time. So I'm shooting high.
Very good. They come in bunches. Well, awesome job, John. Pleasure to see everyone. Hopefully everybody has an awesome rest of your day. And all the associates, see you on the mastermind.